Hello everybody, Cone Dodger here, and we are back in automation. Going to continue our tour through early 90s Japan, or Japanese motors. We started off with some 240SX motors, which I guess is not really a Japanese car per se, since it was only made for the States. But we started with the KA24E, KA24DE, and the Japanese SR20 DET red top, all of which have found their way into 240s at one point or another, either made with them or have been converted that way. But what I'm going to do is first fix up these, because I was having a lot of issues, especially with the bottom end parts, and thankfully, both through YouTube comments and some local forums, I've gotten some good information on maybe how to fix some of those issues. First off, this MTBF, that stands for mean time between failures. Thank you for clearing that up there, Daffy. What else? On the bottom end, there's the forged I was using. Obviously, I know that's not correct, so I don't want to end up using these. And during that episode, last episode, I was kind of messing around with them, and I was using these heavy cast pistons. That's actually a terrible idea because it has a very low max RPM, so that was never going to work. That was just a bad idea. The cast would actually be better as an average. Put that very low max torque hertz in. But as it turns out, Nissan was using hyper-eutectic. That's how I'm going to say that. Hyper-eutectic cast pistons, which is like a aluminum silicon alloy, has average and average, so that's pretty good. Should be able to do something with that. The connecting rods are definitely cast. That's all I know. But you can see the heavy duty here, also not very good. Max torque very low. I think I'm still going to be running into an issue with that. Well, we will see. I'm also going to bump up the quality because for this, the cost isn't really a big issue, so I'm just going to bump up the quality till it says it's no longer an issue. So let's see how that goes. Alright, so it's still reducing its mean time between failures due to something reaching an RPM limit. So that's important. 6,500 RPMs where we're making the power. Still a little bit short there on power. Saying that the failure rate is up to 50,000, so that's pretty decent. Obviously, that's not great. 50,000 kilometers. So let me mess around with this some more. If we just go with, obviously we're not using I-beam steel, but that's what I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna do a quick test. So it's likely not that is reaching the RPM limit. So back to this. Just go with cast. The crank. So as far as the crank goes, that doesn't affect the max RPM at all. The pistons definitely do. The only thing that will probably last is the lightweight forged, which it definitely did not have. It definitely had these hyper-eutectic. So let's actually try and reduce that RPM just a little bit. Because I'll be honest with you, somebody that drove a car with a KA24E in it, they don't do well at high RPM anyway. Alrighty, so still a little down on power, but no more issues there. So let's bump that up just one step. Quick test it. Okay, so 6,400 RPM. I can live with that. That's doable. So let's try and get the power up real quick. I got a little clue from YouTube commenter Turbo86 said my fuel mixtures were way too high. Didn't say on what engine, but that was just all around. Oh, and there was one other thing. The octane. According to Trifler 500, if I go into the options, let me save this real quick. Yes. I go into options. And the units. I'm looking for AKI instead of RON. So now if I go back to that, it should show. Yep, that's more in line with the units I'm used to. Over here in the States, we have 87, 90, and 93, and that's about what it's showing here. So that is the correct octane. So that's good to know. Something is freaked out. It's thinking that I'm on the exhaust menu. I don't know why that is. Now hopefully that goes away. There we go. Okay, so let me see. I've got some room here. Let me lean it out even more. Alright, doesn't look like it's doing too good. That chart has not gone up. Yeah, that restricted it pretty bad. Okay, so yeah, that didn't help too much. I'll reaching that back up a little bit. He could have been talking about the SR motor. That's very possible. I'm gonna advance the timing a little bit. I may have been a little too conservative with that. So let's see. Aha. Okay, that was a good jump there. I was looking for. Let me go back and double check that real quick. Alright, so I was looking for 140 horsepower, 151 foot-pounds of torque. I'm a little backwards at the moment, so what I'm going to do is bring down that cam a little bit. And see. Quick test. Well, that got the torque to be higher than the horsepower, so let's see. Bring that just a tad up. Okay, so it's running about the same, so actually that was probably about right. Bring that down and then bring the timing back up. It's knocking, it's too far. Yeah, still knocking. Still knocking. Wow. So, reaching up maybe it. Okay, so there we go. 145 foot-pounds, 137 horsepower. That's getting closer. Alright, before I get too carried away, I also had one other suggestion, and that is the catalytic converters. Trifler once again said that most engines of this era are using three-way cats, which flow much better, so that could free up some serious horsepower. So perhaps I don't need all of this advanced timing. So let's try that out. There we go. Looking for, that's about right, 153 foot-pounds. About 140 horsepower. It's a little higher, but that's a lot better. That's a lot more realistic looking. It's still coming, the power's coming a bit late, but that's probably going to be pretty hard to get spot on. But that's good. It's got a real early torque curve, just like a KA would have. So I'm pleased with that. Thanks for the suggestions, everybody. Let me go in, save this one, and do the same with dual cam. Alrighty, so I went ahead and did the same changes on the dual cam here. I'm looking for 160 and 155, 160 foot-pounds and 155 horsepower. So we got 160 foot-pounds, right about 4,000, which is right. And 158, so a little bit more, but right about the right horsepower at 6,200 RPM. And that is actually, other than the fact that the RPM's a little bit late, that's actually right about on. So good deal. And it's those two fixed up. So thanks everybody once again for the suggestions. I appreciate it. Alrighty, so now on to the SR20. Didn't get quite as much information about this one as the KAs, but I do got some things I can do to try and get it a little bit closer. Obviously, had the same bottom end issues, so we can do the same thing here. Alrighty, so the SR bottom end features the same type of pistons as the KA, and the connecting rods are also cast. I have the quality all the way up already. So let's see, I doubt that's gonna do it. Yep, still having issues there. What did I have? I had the 7,500. Some people said it was only 7,200, so let's try that. Yep, that takes care of that. So that was easy enough. Let's see. As far as the power goes, we were looking for 202 horsepower, 203 foot-pounds of torque. Wasn't really getting close to either of those. Had a lot of confusion as to the turbo settings, but really these are pretty close. These two, it's actually closer to 3.5. Not that's going to do a whole lot. I've heard the AR is actually more like 0.8. So we'll try that out. The boost was indeed only 7. So, I mean, that's just what it is. Nothing I can do about that. People saying this was too rich, though. And I should be using super unleaded, basically. So let me just test this out and see what happens. Okay, so up to 191 horsepower, still pretty lumpy. It's not a very smooth torque curve there, power curve, so something still seems a little strange with it. Let's see what we're 86, so it's really got a lot of room to work with there. So it could indeed be running a little rich. Let's see. Don't think it really needs any more aggressive of a cam, because our torque's pretty low, really. So this one I'm a little bit stuck on. Doing that reduced our power a ton. Yeah, is that really what did that? Or is that the cam? Yeah, it's probably the cam. So if we put a real aggressive cam in there, you can get up there in that power, but the torque's going to fall way short. And we're still not anywhere near the octane rating. So let me mess with this a little bit more, and I'll come back to you if I figure something out. Okay, so I have been messing with this motor for a little while now, and I think I'm somewhere. I'm comfortable with calling it close enough. It may not retain exactly the specs that I know of, but I'm at least getting the right numbers out of it, or close to them. 200 horsepower, 196 foot-pounds, and a pretty high RPM versus what it really did, but it's fairly close, and it's got a nice flat power band at the top, so it is making about 200 horsepower at the 6,000 RPM mark. So that's pretty good, pretty close. I ended up going full advance on timing. Still pretty rich, I would say, on fuel. What else did I do? I am up to 8.1 psi. I tried like heck to get it to do 200 horsepower on 7, but I could never get it to quite get there. So I have to call that good there for the red top. But I'm going to try and do a revision of this later on, the blacktop engine. So, of course, the first thing we have to start with is make it a blacktop. There we go. I don't want that. I want the smooth. Maybe that's just part of this. Yeah. There we go. So now it's a blacktop, which means we get to do variable valve timing, which is actually Nissan called it, I want to say, variable cam timing, because that's how they did theirs. It was only on the intake cam, so we'll see, without doing anything else, what kind of bump that gives us. But the blacktop was supposed to put out 217 horsepower versus the 202 out of the red top. And that did give us a couple horsepower and a little smoother at the top. There was also some other changes. It went to a T28 turbo instead of T25, which means it was ball bearing, at least in the S15 version. And it went up to a 60 millimeters, so that's what I'm going to do here. Which I don't know that both of these are supposed to be 60. Could be just one is. But it was supposed to have a .64 AR. There we go. Now let's see if that changes anything. Doesn't look like it changed anything for the better. At least we're definitely not going to get much over 200 if we are. Nope. Actually lost a little power there. So that's interesting. I gained some torque, gained some responsiveness, and the economy's better. But overall, the horsepower dropped. And you can see it's not building boost till very late. So let's go back to that and see if... I wish this was a little bit more zoomed in. It's not. How can we do that? Smaller compressor, perhaps? Give it a little bit more boost, even though I know it's not supposed to have more than 7. Put that got our chart up there where we need it. There's 200 foot-pounds, that's what I was looking for. Still pretty short there, though. So for the sake of saying that it's a more powerful motor than the red top, we're gonna up the boost until it gets that 217 mark. There's 211. I should be able to handle that. Maybe. Getting close though. Alright, this should do it. So we are running a little bit more boost than Nissan says they were, but who knows, maybe they were lying. I doubt it. It's just, no, it's not an exact science. There we go. 216, I'm happy with that. 212, that's about right. It's a good deal. We'll save this one as the blacktop. Alrighty, so now we've added one more to our arsenal here. We got the KAs fixed, and we got two reliable and slightly different, slightly better, and a slightly cheaper option. So that's 4 down, only about 20 to go. Next episode, this one was just a little shorter because I wanted to take you guys' advice and fix these KAs. If you have any advice on how to fix these SRs, or maybe that's just as good as they're going to get, that would be fine. Let me know. But next time I'm probably going to move on to do the rest of the available Nissan lineup and tackle the RB 20, 25, and 26. But until then, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.